You're not manifesting love, success, money, peace, happiness because you are waiting to become that person. When in actuality, the key is to be that person now. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD and ordained minister of metaphysical sciences. I am also the author of The Future Self Frequency and My Future Self Journal, available now on the website below. It's important for you to recognize that manifestation, though it is very important and a big part of our spiritual journey and in life in general, though can be seen as something as superficial. Remember a comment where somebody said once that manifestation is the entitlement of the spiritual, right? There's this idea that we feel like we're supposed to get things. Well, what's the point of life if you aren't supposed to achieve things? Now, achievement doesn't have to be something that's egotistical. It, in fact, should be something that's more a passion, something that drives you. Not only drives you for your own happiness and pleasure, but also can contribute to the empowerment, the joy, the happiness of other people. And when you really dial into what it is you're supposed to manifest as to what your purpose is, that's when you recognize it, because it does those two things. It satisfies you personally, right? It gives you purpose, gives you meaning, but it also makes a difference it is a positive impact for people who experiences it as well. So the thing is, most people, when it comes to manifestation, don't recognize that manifestation is the carrot in front of the horse, so to speak. Now, in our case, we get the carrot, but you must understand that the carrot is a means by which it is to lead you to a truer, deeper understanding. And that deeper understanding is the knowledge of self. It is self-realization. It is recognizing who you truly are, what you truly are, going beyond the egotistical, superficial layers of self, my name, my race, my gender, my beliefs. It is going deeper into who and what you truly are, which is consciousness. And consciousness is the individualized expression of that which most of us call God or the universe. And so when we think about this carrot, when we think about manifestation, what I really want you to understand is that manifestation, or the desire to materialize something, comes from something that you haven't thought of yet. The reason why I say that is because after all my 30 years of studying spirituality, the law of attraction, the law of assumption, I've come to this realization for myself as to where the things of our desires, where this desire to get this, to create that, to do this, where does that come from besides our own consciousness calling us to fulfill a purpose? Where does the imagination of us doing it comes from? It comes from the future. It comes from the part of us that is already and has already achieved it. Now, why do I say that? Now, when we get into consciousness, we must recognize that consciousness is not bound by the things of the ego. The ego is more a tethering instrument tool that tethers us to this physical world and this physical body. But when we acknowledge consciousness, when we go on the spiritual journey, we recognize things like time as being something that was created, in a sense that it isn't something that we are locked into from a consciousness level. Okay. Consciousness goes beyond time. It is not linear. It is not something that exists or happens one after the other, right? In a straight line. Consciousness, the divine spark that is you, is omnipresent, right? Omnipotent. It has no boundaries at all, even time itself. So how then do we utilize, or how then do we get this insight as to what it is we wish to create, what it is we wish to materialize? What is our purpose, right? Why do we have these dreams, these callings, these ideas that come to us, these intuitive nudges. Why do we hear particular things? The hearing can be auditory, right? Or it can just be more mental, more of a spiritual listening, hearing of a voice. What is that voice that's calling us to do this thing? It is the future self of that particular aspect, that particular reality calling you to actually fulfill the prophecy, right, of it, to actually create it, to actually go in the direction of that reality, of that self. You see, every decision, every possible action eventually will lead you to different realities, different versions of self. Now, here's the thing though, you can actually decide which version of self that you want to be. Now, your dreams, your passions, the things that you hope for, desire, wish for, dream about, those are examples of those selves calling you. They are sending you an echo, a voice, a message, a signal, calling you to actually achieve and do those things in order to be that version of you. When we think about this amazing symbol here, this is called the flower of life. The flower of life is known to be a very powerful, sacred geometry symbol. Now, I've studied this symbol numerous times. I've even practiced drawing this symbol, freehand, and it was a very powerful, exercise. Now, this symbol always pops up into my life in various ways, in my mind, in my spirit. And I've come to understand in many ways what this symbol means and signifies. Now, there are infinite ways of explaining this symbol, and that's part of what it means. Now, when we think about this symbol, right, it is basically a variation of colors arranged in a way that is, symmetrical, that is, beautiful in its way, right? It looks like a flower. That's what it is. But when we think about it, it is simply one circle that is replicated over the course of different directions. That circle is you. That circle represents you. Now, the inside of the circle represents your infinite consciousness. That is the part of you that has no limitations. But the irony is the round shape, right, that goes around the infinite inside of the circle is in fact finite, meaning you can identify it. You can see, okay, it is a circle. It has form. That represents your physical body. Now, you are an infinite being in a finite body, meaning your body will transform, it will change, it will eventually pass away, but your infinite beingness will continue to move on. So it represents the duality of the universe, right, of nature. When you observe and look at everything, there is always a duality, a contrast that exists. Some people call them opposites. Okay. I call them basically two sides of a spectrum. Now, when you look at this flower of life and this one individual circle, the flower of life represents different paths. Okay. In those circles, they interconnect with one another. That essentially is you phasing from one version of yourself to another version of yourself. Now, you can look at this on a very macro level scale, a large scale, meaning, when we grow, okay, there are phases of life where we change every 7 years. So you can look at it as that, right? Each circle represents 7 years. After 7 years, you don't instantly change into somebody else, right? Your body doesn't instantly grow. It still gradually grows, right? And so that's why the circles interconnect with one another. It represents that phase from one self to the other self. Now, that's on a macro level scale. But now let's go on a small level scale. You can go as small as you possibly can. And in this case, this represents moment to moment, second to second, millisecond to millisecond. where you are continuously changing, right? You are phasing from one version of yourself to another because guess what? Every moment of existence, no matter how small or minute, you are changing, you are shifting. Whether you are reading a book and intentionally looking to shift and change, or whether you're just simply sitting still, being mindful, or just trying to clear your mind altogether, it is still creating a shift within you. That's what this symbol means. Now, because we are infinite beings of consciousness and we do not truly function in a linear concept of time, that means that time doesn't exist and we are all everything all at once, right? At the same exact time. So that means essentially you exist in the past, in the present, and in the future. That means that you can actually communicate between your past selves, present self, and future selves. Now, here's the thing. According to your future self is actually your present self. According to your past self, that past self is actually your present self, if you ask them, right? So you in your present self are absolutely the bridge between the past and the future. Now, this is the trick. You cannot really go into the past, right? And you may not want to. The journey is moving forward, not going back. Now, you can access information of the past. You can send information to the past. Just like you can send information to the past, you, the future version of you, can also send information to your present self, which is that future version's past as well. Here it is. When you are mindful and clear about that, you can actually receive messages from your future self in support of you becoming that version of you, especially if it is a version that you desire to be. The truth of the matter is your future self and the possibilities are infinite. But you, knowing that this future self is your higher self, is what most of us call the best version of yourself. That future self is dialed in. That future self is well connected. That future self knows how to communicate with your past self, with your present self. That future self is sending you the messages, sending you the insight, sending you the code, right? Sending you the path, the information, the data to actually help and support you to get to that point. That's the beauty of it. Your desires, your dreams, your passions, the things you want to do, desire to do, dream about doing. Those are the messages. Those are the echoes, right? That is your future self communicating to you as to how to actually get to the point of true self-realization, true joy, true happiness, true success, true enlightenment. You have to simply listen, and you have to practice listening. Once you are in a place where you can hear, and it doesn't matter how much you hear, but once you hear it, take heed to it, take action, do, more importantly, be, embody it. Take whatever messages, ideas, inspirations that you are getting from that part of you that desires, that yearns, that has to, right? And the reason why I say you have to is because these things that you've been thinking about, these desires, these goals, are not things that you can just shun away. They keep coming up. They keep appearing in your mind. That's because you are supposed to do them. And now what happens if you don't do them? Then you take the route of being a future version of yourself. That means things like depression, unhappiness, right? Regrets. And none of us want that. So the key here is that you're not getting the messages from those lesser frequency versions of the future selves. you're getting the messages from the highest version of yourself. You're getting a message from that part of you, that self that is all in and has everything you desire. That version of yourself is wanting you to be there. And that's why it's calling you. And it's calling you by way of your dreams, your aspirations. Now, your dreams and aspirations, they are meant to direct you. Be clear that it doesn't mean that that's absolutely what you're supposed to do. What it could mean is that this thing that you desire right now is what's needed to simply get you moving forward, right? To get you taking one step in front of the other. When you do that, then you get to a point, because again, remember, the circle means that you are constantly shifting. And every time you move forward, you shift in a different direction, right? But generally speaking, it's the same trajectory. But when you are taking steps to move forward, approaching your desired, goal in this moment, it may lead you to a realization that that's not the thing you really want, right? You may be introduced to something else along the way of getting that initial thing. And that's part of it. Your future self, remember, already knows that. Your future self knows that you are doing this, you were creating this, but then you were introduced to that. And that fueled you like you never been fueled before, right? That inspired you. That was the thing that actually created a pathway for you to feel the happiness and the joy and the fulfillment. And so I want you to understand that your future self, your desired future self, is calling you. And so I want you to truly take the time to really sit with this idea, so that way you can recognize that this is part of you being an infinite being. This is part of you, essentially the true essence of you, not allowing your ego to restrict you, to think that you are stuck here in this body, in this reality, that this reality is something, a byproduct of someone else, not you, right? Which is false, which is a illusion. But to recognize that you are on this journey to realize who you are. And you are so big that the clues are constantly being thrown at you, right? The truth is you are so infinite and so wise that the wisdom is thrown at you. But if you are identifying with the ego so much, then it's hard for you to recognize that's what they are. Your dreams, your passions, right? The ego may say, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. This person is doing it already. I may not be that attractive or that smart, or I don't have this and I don't have that. But you are dreaming it because your future self is telling you that it is yours. You just have to take ownership of it. That's the trick. And when you do, you take the initial steps that the future self gives you, or maybe not, you just figure it out for yourself. And the future self will continue to send you the messages, the signals. It will continue to guide you to the path of self. So please listen to your future self. You don't have to listen to me, even though I'm asking you to listen to me, but listen to your future self. Take the path, because that path is the path that is going to lead you to the ultimate success that you desire. That success can just simply look like prosperity. It can look like peace. It can look like just laying on the beach for the rest of your life. Whatever it is to you, you know what that is because you constantly dream about it, hope for it. That is who you are. That is what you're meant for. So take the journey. Take the journey with me. I'm going to be talking about this often. I might be talking about this all the time, but I want to invite you to just simply absorb the concept, recognize this, and recognize how it resonates with you. because this is the thing that is actually going to support you. Some people may call this quantum jumping, this concept, right? Basically being able to go into the future. Well, you're not really going into the future. You're communicating with that future self. You're always in the present. Okay. But that future version of you can communicate back and let you know what it is you need to do in order to bring that version of you into the present, if you know what I mean. So please, I invite you, check out the book, right? The book is called The Future Self Frequency. It is available at a website called thefutureselffrequency.com. You may be able to get it in the description below. Also is available is my Future Self Journal. Now, you can get both. You can get one or the other. So I invite you to get that. Up until then, we will continue to move forward in discovering how to tap into our future selves and be the version of yourself that you're meant to be. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com as well. Sign up for my daily newsletter. Oh, get access to the free first chapter of the deluxe version of the Future Self Frequency. That is only when you sign up at drabundant.com. Thank you so much. Peace and abundance always.
I've never been the type to chase hype. I don't do trends. I don't believe in quick fixes, but I do believe in truth. And the Future Self Frequency met me with truth I couldn't ignore. This wasn't about manifesting things for the sake of it. It wasn't about pretending to be happy or spiritual or successful. It was about alignment. Quiet, consistent alignment with the version of me I had buried under years of survival and responsibility. Reading this book wasn't a rush. It was a return. A return to clarity, to intention, to peace. I didn't need another motivational speech. I needed a reminder of who I really am. That's what this book gave me. And the journal? It's now a part of my morning routine. Simple, direct, sacred. Writing to my future self changed the way I make decisions. It made the invisible visible. I'm not here to convince anyone, but if you're ready to lead yourself instead of waiting to be rescued, read the book, use the journal, and start showing up like the future you is already here, because she is.